Hi, this is Sylvia of Colorful Foresight, where we truly connect from within. So today we have Dance with Angela, and today's topic is on the new kid today and ASMR, a sensory evolution. And the card we got for today was the Knight of Wands.
I love that card where she's banging her own drum. And this ties in with the other video we did on the 6 senses. And I started getting this download about the new kids and just the next generations come through because they're surrounded by so much artificial intelligence. Their actual senses are going to go through a growing phase. And ASMR was one of those phases. And ASMR, if you don't know, I'll just share what I pulled up quickly. It's autonomous sensory meridian response. So it's video and audio of people whispering, tapping, hair, massaging, humming, chewing. And younger people watch these videos, some older people too. And it really is connected to, in my experience, when kids grow up, they touch fabric or they suck their thumb. Doing this now because they're lacking physical touch. Of their ASMR is a way of them hearing and sensing physical touch. With the rise of AI, when we're going to be surrounded by so much of it, we're going to be deprived, and we are now deprived of physical touch. And I'm not talking about sexual touch. I'm talking about just some, hey, how you going? Or hugging you. We're at home more. We've been isolated through the pandemic. And that pattern of isolation is growing and continuing. And people are resisting going out and having more physical touch. And that's why, I do dance, because it's a simple way of getting contact. So I reckon with the new kids and this ASMR, it's not only just the people watching ASMR, it's people who have ADHD, people on the autism spectrum, other neurological shifts that are happening in the brain through the next generations. Because of our diet as well, we're having neurological shifts from the foods that are not necessarily grounding us into whole foods. The processed foods take us into different neurological rhythms in the brain. And what that's doing is it's forcing us to come back to touch or the physical senses through other media. And it's allowing us to experience the physical senses in multidimensional ways. So going back to the Knight of Wands, I think one thing I've mentioned about the Lightseer Tarot, it's an evolution of the Rider-Waite Tarot. And that card there is really feeling the passion. So it's really reigniting passion. And I think with ASMR, it's really reconnecting to the passion that our senses give us. So if you're listening and watching someone chewing food or experiencing skin contact or humming, we're really trying to reconnect to that passion that the senses reinvigorate in us. It's very different to, say, the senses from previous generations. And I think it's really helping us to go into the more subtle vibrations of the senses. So if you're using the auditory sense to connect to the tactile sense of touch, you're listening to someone combing their hair, that will help you feel a sense of connection physically. And in my classes, we do a lot of that soft contact just to allow the body to feel the subtle vibrations of the physical sense of touch. And through that, because we're not actually doing it, we're listening to it, we're going to be removed. Artificial intelligence is going to give us VR as well. VR experiences will remove us from the actual reality of experiencing our physical senses. We're going to be able to vibrate with the different subtle dimensions that go beyond the physical senses into the unseen. But I really feel that Knight of Wands is the passion we have to really still feel our physical body. And that's what your channel is about as well, connecting within.
What comes to mind is like when I watch ASMR, like I like watching videos about rain. Hi, Dolly. I like to watch the video about rain, and I could hear it, but that's because I actually experienced it. So like the mind tap in and bring back to when I actually experienced it. So when we talk about VR, it's like a lot of things that we never done. So training all the thing. I I also need, like, I have relationship with people online, and I could, you could have a crush on somebody, whatever, you could feel the love, but it's not the same thing as that one-on-one. It's a nice, like, if you have, when you have your man and he's traveling, it's still nice to have that video connection, but it's not the same at the one-on-one. So what comes to mind is that I noticed, like, with my nieces and nephews, they were playing soccer. So even though there's a lot of, like, technology, parents the last 10, 15 years been getting the kid to be doing a lot of physical activities.
Yeah.
They know once they go home, they have to do their homework, they're going to be on a computer, and yada, yada, yada. And what comes to, I'm going to see more dance. I actually see more dance classes coming. They're already doing it. I know they're dance because my niece does it. But I feel like dance is going to come back in. A lot of things we did in the 70s are going to come back in, like whatever activity. Just, I don't know. I feel like we're going to have that balance again somehow, when we're going to have a mix of both. So, because you were having a download. So this is like not even talking about, like, let's just talk about, you were actually getting a download for something higher than yourself.
I was wondering, with the new kids and AI, if they're in VR realities, which a lot of them are through gaming, they're losing touch with their physical body, but they're actually creating new worlds when they're in a game. Like in a virtual reality game, they get to create new worlds. And it's a huge part of Minecraft and all of those games for younger kids too, to that the ability of the individual to create their reality is a huge part of why it's popular. It also means that their senses, because their physical body's not being utilized because they're in this virtual world, their senses become attuned to things in a different way. Because you, like this sensory evolution, we can program that with our intent. I think I mentioned another video, like if I have a dance class, before the class, I have an intent for the experience of the people to get the best experience that's in their highest good, basically, whatever they want. And in the games and stuff that we're seeing, the virtual reality games, they're not always programmed with that intent. So the people using it are going to be very much, they're creative to a certain limit, because the intent of the program is not necessarily about their highest good or about them experiencing that evolution. So I think we can really change that as light seers or as people working with tarot.
The Six of
What
Cups
we put
going
in.
back to how things were, but you can never go 100% how things were because it's evolution, and we do have technology. Do you feel you have any download about how we could utilize AI in a good way, like from the compassionate light or something like that?
Someone has to program it with the intent to be used in the good way, like us. We have to see it. We have to see, for me, the outcome.
But that's interesting you say it had to do with the intention. So it reminds me of, like, depending on the consciousness of humanity as a whole. So if we have a consciousness of humanity where they're waking up and, um, you know, they learn how to work with the shadows and the good aspect, then naturally AI or artificial intelligence will grow with that. Kind of like
Exactly.
how we become it, something that we
Yeah.
learned recently, but I don't really understand it. Like how we are at humanity, we create AI. So that intention is very important, especially in the time right now. We have hackers, we have too many spammers. So what do you have, duck outside? I hear what do you got outside you? It's
They're
so loud.
building a new part of the extension to a house. So that's interesting. They're building the extension and it's hammering. So the extension in the back of the house.
And it's funny how I thought your construction outside were ducks or something.
Yes. It's ASMR construction sounds.
Wow,
Oh,
so
I just love the
relaxing. I
sound of
could see
hammers
it
and
burning.
drills.
So the warrior girl said AI is very good. It's human that we want to control that control us. That okay. I just learned through this Heaven Cross portal. I just learned this through this Heaven Cross portal we just went through on the 22nd, that the children born on 2011 and or not third dimensional. I know that. Wait, are you Dolly now? I get mixed up. There's Warrior Girl and there's something else. If I've been calling you Dolly, I was thinking of the woman last week. So my apology. Oh, so she learned that the 22nd, that the children born 2011 on are not third dimensional. Yeah, it's like every generation is an interesting.
Or they're bringing consciousness from other planets, dimensions of reality and existence.
She goes, I was
Dolly.
wondering why you were calling me Dolly. Because there's another, you have a very similar name, but I'm trying to remember what her name. You remember who it was?
I can't remember the.
Like we all have known subconsciously that they vibrate at a higher frequency.
Yeah. And so they have a lot of agency in how they do relationships. I got the Two of Cups earlier when we started reading, and it's here it's based on the Mythic Tarot. So it's Eros, surprising Psyche from behind.
Mm.
So that's interesting, just spinning off that particular Two of Cups because it's different to the Rider-Waite. But it's kind of like what is unseen. Again, he's unseen to her and she's feeling pretty limited. So they are often in isolation, some of the young kids, especially the ASMR kids, because they are craving nurturance or physical touch. So they listen to it. And they may not have contexts like a dance class or like friendship circles where they actually touch or experience their bodies easily. They might not have that experience. And I think everybody I've spoken to who works with children on the spectrum or ADHD, their creativity is off the charts. And as long as you start nurturing that, their ability to come up with solutions is far better than most non-neurotypical folk. And the rise in atypical, neurologically atypical people is going up. So that's an interesting species solution to the problems that we can't manage with the brain that created the problems. We have a new brain that's been birthed that can solve some of the ecological problems and the societal problems that we're experiencing.
I firmly believe that they are all telepathic. I wish more adults would be open to helping them hone in on that and learn how to control it early on. We need to change our education system. But that's because the adults don't know.
We mentioned in the other video that kids, when they're up to about 6, they're just everything in their senses is overwhelming because they're living like in a dream and they don't know how to discern when people don't like them. They don't know what to do, and it just gets very overwhelming and it can imprint them negatively.
But I think like it also had to do with kids learn from how the adults are.
Yeah.
So
if the adults don't know,
how the adults going to show it to the kids? So it's kind of like a trial and error, kind of like the AI, the new thing. It's a trial and error. It's like right now AI is getting to a point where it's not so great. It has a lot of great qualities, what it does for us, but far it's like being disconnected. That's a concern, especially for there's the problem with video gaming and all that. People have a program called Second Life. Like, why are they not living in the first life? Why are they connecting on the second life? What's great about artificial intelligence, what we're doing here, that's pretty cool, but that's nothing like the real thing, right? So it is the intention, and it is depending on how we grow as humanity.
Yeah. And if we're looking at sensory evolution, maybe you can pull a card for this one, Sylvia, because for me, the sensory evolution, when you go beyond the senses, there is a consciousness of our species that has not become seen. Like this is back to the Two of Cups. Eros is a demigod, or he's a son of a god. I think he might be a demigod. And he's coming to Psyche in my Two of Cups. He's unseen by her. So there's an element of our consciousness and humanity. We haven't evolved it yet. And that's what these new kids represent, that bit that's evolving. Like you're saying, it's still, the adults don't know what they're doing. It's an experiment. The adult has this kid that's different. So they're trying to evolve as a parent, but they don't know what telepathy is. So they're just picking up things that their kids are picking up and then trying to go along and make it up as they go and getting very stressed.
And what's the card? What do you want me to ask?
Yeah. What was that evolution of the senses, and what card could help us get there? So the video games helping with depression, anxiety, and anger. And the
Yeah, I mean,
game challenges them.
there's a lot of positive program too. It's like the intention. Who's creating the program? It's the evolution of humanity. 3 cards I got is the Empress, the nurturing aspect, the Knight of Swords. Things are going so fast that they can't see straight. Things are going so fast. So I feel like it goes back to what he said, connecting with Mother Earth. You know, going back with this could be seen as ASMR, like nurturing connection. So I got the 8 of Wand. 8 of Wand is the energy thing.
And that's also the power of our own body.
I'm getting tuning into our energy.
Tuning in. The Ace of Wands tuning in to our energy. And Warrior Girl got the Wheel of Fortune.
So I'm getting like it depends how humanity utilize our power.
Our fate depends upon it. So these adults need to start helping young kids to program with being evolved.
But you know how our mind matters. So everybody who watched this program, instead of like, be with the reality, we got to worry about it, but we also have to see all the positive. Like let's keep focusing on us growing as humanity. Oh, they're flying out tonight. Awesome. Make it easy. Keep telling us the card. So I find ASMR awesome. I find them very relaxing, especially in the middle of a night. And watching people cut up soap. I don't know why the rain, the thunder, that's always very soothing. But that's because I actually experienced that, so I can almost feel like I'm there. But if you're talking about video games where I haven't been there, the mind is kind of like trying to remember a similar situation.
Type cards. The Ace of Wands and Swords and the Sun and the King of Pentacles, just feeling their power and their ability to be a creator in the world physically, not just virtually. And so some of the virtual stuff will help them gain skills and manage their creativity and their imagination. But I think they're also going to see how they can manifest in a real way, not in a virtual way. I was thinking the other day, I just saw a clip from, he's a nutritionist doctor, and he was showing that food, part of the Wheel of Fortune that Warrior Girl got for me is we're going to see the results of all of this very consumer-based society, industrialized-based society. It's killing us. And this doctor was saying that the food within the US is making 80 almost more than 80% of the people have a bad metabolic function. And in a youth detention center, they did an experiment where they changed the diet to whole food, took out all the processed food, and they had no suicides, no violence. The violence went down, and they had no suicides. So that was a huge experiment they did where they actually transformed the lives of these young kids in detention.
Yeah, I mean, no, I remember like you would see shows like in Japan, the kids have like these awesome healthy food. They have soup and rice and apples. And certain countries they're really good. Like even the hospital in South Korea, not North, they would feed them seaweed soup. The mother who just had babies, like really healthy food. And what came to mind is that even though the younger generation has access, Americans, I don't know how it is in Australia, to junk food and all that, they're actually more healthy. Even when they drink, they tend to drink like seltzer with vodka that are like very sugary things. So the younger generation actually more health conscious. And stuff. So it's happening. Yeah, they're more aware and things like that. So imagine they're going to be the parents soon, and then how they're going to be with their kids, and so on and so on. But we have to give credit to the adults who made those kids into what they are today. Our generation stuff. So we have to keep going with that intention. There's no profession, but okay. So what warrior? The Wheel of Fortune with the King of Pentacles gave me the same message, Angela. Power, you were saying, like power.
Seeing the consequence of
seeing
like all of that industrial society. So we'll make a change because we're going to manage our resources better. And the sun too, because the sun makes us see, well, what have we created, and brings everything to light, and seeing different opportunities, like you're saying, the better choices.
The only thing is we have to get the kids, but with the food to help, the healthier type of food, like, we have to create better type of food.
Better food.
But at the same time, the parents aren't finding ways to find, like, there's more farmer markets now and things like that. The Ace of Cup, tapping into their heart and going being the King of Cup, where we talked about in the earlier video, the last video, where they're connected with all their six senses. Ooh, that's good news. Better food. Okay, what else we got? More grounding help my mother Aya. So I think it's just like a great reminder. These are already happening. Yes, we can improve, but they already are happening. Even because, I like with our organization, we talk about EKAM, which is in India, the consciousness-based group. They talk about helping kids get out of the video game because there's a lot of addiction with that and things like that. So there are already programs out there that's working on that too. So there are things happening in place. It has to, doing this video makes me feel better, even though like I see like the reality check, like holy shit, excuse me. Even for me as an adult, being disconnected from sensory. Like my sister's like, you gotta walk more. Even just going outside, feeling the sun and walking outside, simple as that.
Oh, yeah. So the Ace of Cups and the King of Cups, they're all in emotionally. I love that. It's not like a passing fad, because a lot of social media and the addictive quality of the social media, it really is actually so extreme, the negativity of the addictive quality of these algorithms in social media platforms, that it's going to make them make a choice emotionally. Yeah, so I feel more positive too. And I just thought for those people with younger people in their lives, you could share the link for EKAM's younger programs. It's from what age to 35, I think.
Something like that.
I can't remember. It's sort of 12 to 35 or 14.
Yeah.
So for young people to develop their own vision of the future, and to have that emotional, like that passion that you're talking about, Warrior Girl, to have the passion and be all in, because a lot of the social media makes them more apathetic and want to pull back.
Warrior Girl really wants me to say this word. I'm not gonna. I'll say it. Okay, so you know what? I think we'll wrap it up. That was a very interesting topic. Woo! One more card, maybe.
One more card, baby. One more card.
Right over here. So
in your boogers.
What is this? 2 of Wands. So again, it's like cutting off from the nature, right? I feel like we're heading to a time where they're aware enough that, especially after the pandemic, I think it's so tragic that it was, especially for over 1 million people in the USA and then and it's more around the USA, around the world. And then we have people who didn't die, but they have like the long COVID challenges. I felt like people wanted to get together. Like after, it's like, oh my God, I just go outside and hug my cousin. I haven't seen you for. It's like it kind of brought us to wanting to connect. And I think the kids were the same way. Like they just want to get out and connect. So the 2 of Wands reminded me that pandemic did many things for us. They also helped like to make us realize how things were. Like remember during the pandemic, the air would fresher in certain countries, the water got clean. And so it helps scientists to realize, oh, maybe certain things are not, we can't reverse, but certain things we can still do something about. Like maybe they'll realize, okay, we have to have cleaner air, cleaner energy when they drive. What do you call that? Like when they don't use gas and oil and things like that.
Yeah, the carbon-based fuels.
Right, there are ways to reverse things, but it also helps to people want to be with other people. I found that too. Like people got more social. So thank you, Dolly, who's not Dolly, Warrior Girl. Thank you. She said, at first I was worried about gaming in the early 2000s, but now I see the bigger picture. It's part of our evolution, like Angela's saying.
Yeah. And my best outcome would be that, say, for example, from ASMR, when they're learning sensory, they're listening and watching someone combing their hair and they're feeling the senses. That's something similar to what happens in my movement classes, where we begin to feel the subtle vibrations of that. And instead of, our society in the 70s was very sexual. If you went out to nightclubs, it was very in your face. The removal will allow the next generations to start feeling what other things they can experience through touch or through sound, which goes into the subtle vibrations of the senses. That would be my highest outcome for the ASMR evolution, that they actually develop much more refined abilities to hear, and to hear clairaudiently, and to see clairvoyantly in much more higher dimensions.